Developed in partnership by Wired Dreams and Statera, Arashi Gaiden throws you into a fusion of chaotic ninja action and tactical turn-based planning. It's a concept that probably shouldn't work on paper, but somehow does most of the time. As a spiritual successor to Red Ronin, Arashi Gaiden also shares its universe with the pixel brawler Pocket Bravery, but it definitely does more than live in that shadow. Ultimately, this is a game that tries to forge something of its own by asking what happens when you give a ninja the careful pacing of a strategy game and then tell them to move like their life depends on it. Arashi Gaiden follows the story of Shinji Arashi, a young ninja hired by his former master, Lobo, to clean up a variety of increasingly dangerous targets wreaking havoc across Japan. The narrative doesn't take center stage here, but that's fine, I guess. The meat of the experience is in the movement, combat, and challenge. That said, players do pick a small piece of Shinji's background as they push forward, and hidden scrolls throughout stages offer just enough world building to add some flavor between bloodshed. The game itself is structured around 7 stages, each made up of multiple single-screen challenge rooms. You have the option to push forward until every enemy is eliminated, or in a few early cases, all switches must be activated in order to progress. At the end of a stage, a boss encounter caps things off with a more demanding test of your understanding. What I feel makes Arashi Gaiden immediately pop before even touching the gameplay is its presentation. The pixel visuals are stylish, colorful, and full of personality. Cutting down enemies results in a cartoonish splash of gore, and Shinji's dashing movement is pretty satisfying to execute. Overall, the pacing has a rhythm to it that balances action and strategy. The game flow of Arashi Gaiden is all about making smart moves on a grid, where every step triggers potential chain reactions. Shinji is able to dash horizontally or vertically across an entire line until hitting an obstacle. Once you make a move, enemies may also react, though it's usually just those who are nearby. Most enemies die in one hit, but there are tougher variants that can take a second strike or hit back harder if you end a turn next to them. Enemy types then become more unpredictable the more you play. Some can jump across 2 or more tiles, while others move diagonally or react quicker than expected. The stages themselves throw traps and hazards at you that shift how you approach each encounter. For example, spike tiles arm themselves after being stepped on or hit by a shuriken, but on the other hand, bear traps are active from the beginning and ready to snap on contact. There's also bombs that are the most threatening, targeting each square along the row and column. These threats can often push you into risky plays, especially when you're forced to move quickly, but it's the real-time layer that really gives Arashi Gaiden its personality. Instead of following a clean turn order, some things happen in motion. Bosses, for instance, begin long wind-up attacks during which they're vulnerable, giving players a small window to move, strike, and retreat before things get too dangerous. Bombs can also be outrun with good timing, and lingering too long on a burning tile can stack damage up a little quicker. Some stages include enemies who don't even enter the movement grid, but still affect the battlefield once their real-time countdown expires. It's those moments that the game pushes hesitation and rewards calculated speed. Scattered throughout the stages are power-ups that improve Shinji's health, mana pool, or the reach of his special attacks. These upgrades are limited, and because there's no way to respec, each one you pick essentially locks you in your build. This does give the progression a sense of permanence that makes you think twice about where to invest. In terms of tools, Shinji is equipped with 4 abilities that add strategic depth. The Shuriken lets you strike from a distance without consuming a turn, which is great for picking off threats or triggering traps safely. The Detour Arrow changes the direction of your dash when placed on the ground, opening up opportunities for creative movements and multiple hit chains. On that note, Chains of Time temporarily freezes all enemies and traps in the vicinity, which can be life-saving in tense situations. And finally, Teleport lets you instantly warp to another location on the map, costing 4 mana points, which, unless you invest in upgrades, is your entire pool. It's a powerful panic button, but one you can't rely on too often. After clearing a stage for the first time, players are encouraged to revisit it with all previously earned upgrades intact. This ultimately opens the door to score chasing, better clears, or just experimenting with different approaches. Each time you clear the stage, you do earn a rank, so there's motivation to improve even after the credits are done. As exciting as the concept is, the execution does have a few rough edges. The real-time elements in particular don't always behave consistently. It's not always clear how the game prioritizes player action versus enemy responses. which can lead to some frustrating moments. There were times when simply opening the teleport menu seemed to stall an incoming attack without using the ability, and I don't think this felt intended. Saving and reloading also causes some odd behavior. Your health stays reduced if you exit mid-stage, but mana weirdly resets to full even if it wasn't when you left. Later stages introduce bosses that sometimes won't take damage when you run into them. It's possible this is tied to animation states or flight status, but without visual indicators or explanation, it feels like the game is ignoring your input rather than challenging your timing. These moments, whether due to unclear mechanics or just bugs, do chip away at the sense of control that the game works so hard to establish. And then you add in a couple instances of unresponsive controls or broken animation, and it becomes tough to know whether you're fighting enemies or just the game itself. There's no denying that Arashi Gaiden is onto something special. The way it fuses tactical thinking with action game reflexes feels distinct and forward-thinking, but it's also messy. The mechanics are often unclear, bugs interrupt the flow, and the real-time elements need more feedback to feel intentional. Even so, the core is solid. This is a game that could be great with just a bit more time in the oven. But for now, let's call it a diamond in the rough, one that genre fans might still enjoy exploring, even if it occasionally cuts a little too deep. Noisy Pixel is giving Arashi Gaiden a 6.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth, and subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.